Please state your name and your position here at KYA.
Okay, so I am Harper Kelly, the policy director, or a policy director. We have a few of us. K-12 is one of my policy arenas, which has a lot in it, right?
Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I'm also work with youth engagement across the state of Kentucky.
What does Kentucky Youth Advocates do, and who do you primarily help?
Well, Kentucky Youth Advocates works, we're a nonprofit agency or organization. We are independent, so we are not connected with the government. We do not get paid by anyone other than grantees and funders. And so what we do is that we work on policies, regulations to help vulnerable kids in Kentucky. So our mantra is that we would like for Kentucky, or we want to help Kentucky be the best place in the United States to be young.
What services do you provide?
We don't really provide direct services to youth. So what we do is we're what they call on the macro level.
Yeah.
So so as far as specific services, we're not there, but we work on policies and regulations at the state level. We also do a lot of research, and one of the things that we do that Paul mentioned is the Kids Count Report. So the Annie E. Casey Foundation, they publish a nationwide Kids Count Report that compares all states based on how well their kids are doing in their state. Education, economic security, safety. I think there's 4 indicators. I'm trying to remember. But and family, I think. And we are the grantors for Kentucky, and so we are the ones that collect Kentucky's data, and we also publish a Kentucky Kids Count book, which compares our counties and our districts on those same indicators.
What is the most difficult part of your job?
We have to, there's a lot. And I guess it would be for me at a personal level. I'm a collaborator. That's kind of what I like to do. I'm good at connecting and collaborating. So a lot of times with these bills, though, I may have certain personal preferences, like what I wish we could do better. But a lot of times those things that I would like to do, we have to put aside to look at what is available to be, what we can do to compromise, because a lot of times we have to make compromises. And so I think that's probably the toughest part, when you know that sometimes what you're throwing out, because you have to compromise, give in one thing so we can get something else, is going to hurt kids sometimes. And so but many times if we know it's going to hurt kids, we won't back down. And so we lose people that will support us sometimes. Legislators get angry with us, or different cabinets might get frustrated with us because we nudge them, we push them to make the right decisions, for kids. So that's very frustrating.
Yeah. What do you feel is the least understood thing about the people you serve or about your organization?
Well, when I tell my friends about what I do, they think that I'm working for the state of Kentucky. They think I'm a state employee, and that I work in Frankfort.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably one of the most misunderstood things. And I love being able to say, no. We aren't controlled by any government agency at all. That we are the voice for kids. Period. That's our client.
Yeah.
Our kids and their needs and their families.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I think within that is that, like right now, I think what we're fighting in general, especially in Jefferson County, 'cause you hear it more. I'm not from here and I don't live in Jefferson County, so I don't hear this in my community. But there's a lot of talk right now just about the bad kids, and we've got to do something about these bad kids. And I would love, part of my personal agenda is to try to figure out how to help adults realize that I don't think that there are bad kids. There are kids that are responding to something bad that maybe has happened to them, or a feeling of frustration that they have. And what they're really doing is just a childlike response to what adults are doing
Yeah.
online in the media, or and so those adults haven't learned how to respond in the right way. How would they expect kids to respond?
Yeah.
We've got to teach them how to do that. We've got to listen to them and find out why they're reacting in the way that they're reacting. So anyway.
Yeah. What do you think might help people better understand this? I guess you kind of just explained that.
Yeah, that, and just what we do at KYA is we try. That's really one of the questions that we constantly ask ourselves every day. How can we get this message across to the general public, to legislators? So here's an example, that Katie Akumu.
Yeah.
All right. So there was this, there was talk with some of the legislators, and even with people within the Cabinet for Health and Human Services, where we were talking about where families who are having to raise, like grandparents who are having to raise their grandchildren, or aunts and uncles who are having to raise their nieces and nephews. I think Kentucky has the highest number of kids that are being raised by another family member, not their parents. It's like 53,000. It's really, really, really high. And there are no financial supports. There are no trainings where, like, if you think of foster families, they get training on, how to deal with behaviors and how to do school, and they have that caseworker that comes in and works with them.
Yeah.
If they need help, they get a certain amount of money to be able to support the kid. And so they get a lot of supports. But if you're a grandma and your son and daughter-in-law had a kid, and a lot of it is due to drug abuse.
Yeah. How you had a very high rate.
Substance abuse. Yeah, very high. Kids are taken out of their home and they're put in with grandma. And grandma hasn't, even if they're somewhat wealthy, we're hearing from a lot of families who they saved up for their retirement. They're getting ready to retire, and they have been planning on going off to Florida.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're raising their grandkids, and with the cell phones and the computers and things, and schools are just completely different 2 generations ago.
Yeah.
And they have no supports. And so legislators and stuff would say, well, they can afford to take these kids. This is their family. Or you would also hear the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So there's a reason why their child was bad. Therefore, that's why they've got this kid. And it's just really kind of a bad attitude about it. And until Katie Akumu, honestly, until she told her story at Children's Advocacy Day last year, and we had so many folks, really important people there to hear it, the whole dialogue immediately changed.
That's so cool.
Immediately changed, because she's, I hate to say this, she's beautiful. She's African American. She's from Eastern Kentucky. She's very well spoken. She is highly educated. She has plans to go to an Ivy League school. She's all of this, and so their perception of her was, she was raised in a very nice family.
Yeah.
Until she told her story. And then all of a sudden, she's saying, sometimes we have to decide whether or not we need to buy shampoo or cereal to eat for breakfast the next day. Because she's in poverty.
Yeah.
And they don't get supports. So, and she's got a 94-year-old grandmother who can die at any
So they
time.
can't really work
She's
either.
feeble and right, exactly.
So why do you think the particular injustice of like children neglect or like not providing all the opportunities that children deserve continue to happen in our world?
That is a big question. A big question. I think part of it is that we have a young adult generation who really don't understand what it's like to not have anything. I don't know. I think that's part of the problem. I think that, well, that generation hasn't gone through any real wars
Yeah.
like where America has been attacked. They're post, you all are the post 9/11 kids, and they were really young during 9/11, so they didn't really understand what was really going on. And I don't know, I see this generation, because my sister's in that generation,
Yeah.
and my sons are like at the end of that generation, where it's kind of this need to want immediate gratification. I'm just going to do it now. We don't think about the future a lot of times. So I'm going to have fun now because I can. Or I'm going to get this job because I like it. And I'm not going to work anywhere where I just have to work hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait until I find the perfect job. I want to live like my parents raised me.
Yeah.
So my parents, we lived in a, whatever, 2-story house and polo fields or whatever. And I think we've got a generation of kids who want that now as single adults. But we also have a lot of folks who, we've got a lot of poverty. And I think a lot of folks have just kind of lost hope, thinking that they can't get out of it. It's not worth it. And so living in poverty, there's a completely different mindset.
Yeah.
Completely different mindset to where I used to have a judgment, a stereotypical judgment of I've got family in Eastern Kentucky. And I never understood why, when we would go visit them, we would drive by these homes, and they would have these tiny little shacks, but a big old satellite dish out in front and a Cadillac car. And I never really understood why, if you don't have enough money to be able to have running water, but you make sure that you have entertainment,
Yeah.
at your home. But I finally understood. I read this, went to this speaker, and I've read a book about the framework of poverty. And they talked about how for their daily lives, everything is a struggle. Everything is a struggle. So entertainment is immediate, and it takes them away from that
Yeah.
for whatever moment they have. And so that's just their mind frame. It's like, I've got to have an escape. They can't go on vacation like we can to get
Yeah.
away from it. They can't leave and go to a hotel for a weekend just to get away from it. So that's their only way to get away, or go to drugs.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Especially in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
Who do you feel has the power to change like the situation that Kentucky children are in?
We all do. We had our donor breakfast was a couple of weeks ago, and a guy who works for the Cabinet for Children, for Family and Children, and his name is Dr. J. Miller, and he's a professor at UK, and I think in their Office of Social Work or Department of Social Work, but he talked to us that we are the system.
Yeah.
He was a foster kid, and he used to blame the system. And now that he's an adult and he's no longer a foster kid and he has kids of his own,